everything is just one great being. We're all God. That's what Jesus was talking about.
What if I told you that some of your favorite black celebrities went from the top of the world to total chaos? From Bible-quoting rappers who relapsed into darkness to Oscar winners who lost it all. These are 18 black actors who lost their faith and went downhill fast. First, Wesley Snipes.
I don't want to be associated with just the martial arts action personality. That's not, I found myself in it.
Wesley Snipes was one of the biggest action stars in the 90s. Everyone knew him from movies like Blade, Passenger 57, and Demolition Man. For a while, it felt like he could do no wrong. But then things took a strange turn, both in his career and personal life. Wesley got involved with a spiritual group called the Nuwaubian Nation. It was a controversial group that mixed ancient Egyptian beliefs with other teachings. People said it was more like a cult than a religion. Wesley never went full public about how deep he was into it, but reports linked him closely to the group's leader and their ideas. This made a lot of people uncomfortable, especially since Hollywood tends to back away when actors get into controversial or extreme beliefs. It didn't ruin his career right away, but it definitely made things harder behind the scenes. Then came the major blow, his tax evasion case. He didn't pay his taxes for a few years and even argued that federal taxes were illegal. That got the government's attention fast. Wesley was charged, and after a long legal battle, he ended up serving 3 years in prison. During this time, he pretty much disappeared from the spotlight. After he got out, he tried to come back, but it wasn't the same. Hollywood had moved on. He got some roles here and there, like in The Expendables 3, but nothing as big as before. His career never really bounced back to its former level. Second, Lauryn Hill.
Me learning that, when I thought I was my most wise, really not wise at all.
Lauryn Hill was once one of the most loved artists in the world. Her album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, was a huge hit and made people believe she was going to be a legend forever. But then something changed, and her life took a turn that nobody saw coming. After reaching massive success, Lauryn started to pull back from the spotlight. She had a spiritual awakening and began questioning everything, especially the music industry and organized religion. She felt like the industry was fake, controlling, and toxic. So she pretty much walked away from it. She started talking more about spirituality, injustice, and being true to herself. But her actions became confusing to a lot of fans. Lauryn started missing shows or showing up super late. Sometimes she'd perform for only a short time or completely cancel without warning. People who once looked up to her began feeling disappointed. Some said she seemed lost or was dealing with mental health issues, but nothing was ever clearly explained. Her behavior felt unpredictable, and slowly her reputation started to change from genius to unreliable. Then things got worse. She ended up going to jail for not paying her taxes. Just like that, a woman who once stood as a symbol of truth and power was now facing serious legal problems. When she got out, she tried doing shows again, but the issues continued. 3. Terrence Howard.
1 times 1 equaling 1 is an unbalanced equation. But the identity element, which is like the Jim Crow laws of the 60s.
Terrence Howard used to be one of the biggest names in Hollywood. He was in big movies like Iron Man, Hustle and Flow, and the hit show Empire. Everyone knew he could act, and he even got nominated for major awards. But over the years, things started to change, not just in his career, but in the way he talked and what he believed. At some point, Terrence started saying he didn't believe in traditional science or religion. He began promoting his own theories about the universe, math, and life. One of his biggest ideas was something he called Teriology, which he said was a new way to understand math and the universe. He claimed that 1 times 1 should equal 2, not 1. He also talked a lot about something called the flower of life, which is a symbol often connected to spiritual or mystical ideas. Basically, he was saying he had discovered a new kind of truth that everyone else had missed. The problem was, most people didn't take him seriously. Scientists and math experts said his ideas didn't make sense. And in Hollywood, when you start talking like that, people start backing away. He became more known for his strange interviews and confusing statements than for his acting. Slowly, the big movie roles stopped coming. Even though he was still on Empire, his public image changed. People saw him as someone who was going off the deep end. 4. DMX.
This has to be God's country, you know, because I've never seen anything as beautiful as that sunrise. Then I met the devil in God's country.
DMX was one of the most intense and emotional rappers ever. His voice was raw, his lyrics were real, and he poured his heart into everything he did. But what made him different was how often he talked about God. Even in his darkest songs, he'd include prayers, Bible verses, and deep thoughts about faith. It was like he was always fighting between doing right and falling back into old habits. He wasn't just saying it for show. DMX really believed in God. He'd stop in the middle of concerts to pray. In interviews, he'd talk about Jesus and how much he wanted to be a better man. A lot of people felt connected to him because of that. He wasn't trying to be perfect. He was just trying to survive and be real about it. But at the same time, he struggled hard with addiction. He had been battling since he was a teenager. He'd get clean for a while, then relapse. It happened over and over again. He also had run-ins with the law, getting arrested for drugs, weapons, or missing court dates. Every time he seemed to be doing better, something would pull him back down. In 2021, he suffered a drug overdose and passed away. The news hit fans hard. People weren't just sad because a famous rapper died. They were heartbroken because it felt like someone who was always trying to heal just couldn't catch a break. 5. Orlando Brown.
How is your mental health?
That's like asking me how Sierra's.
Orlando Brown was once a Disney Channel favorite. Most people remember him from That's So Raven, where he played Eddie, funny, chill, and always cracking jokes. He was a rising star, and it seemed like he had a big future ahead. But after the show ended, things started falling apart fast. Orlando began making headlines, but not for acting. Instead, it was for weird and sometimes scary behavior. He gave strange interviews where he said things that didn't make sense. Sometimes he'd talk in circles, make wild claims about celebrities, or act totally out of it. People started to wonder if he was okay mentally. At one point, he claimed he had found God and had been saved. He even talked about going to rehab and becoming a new person. For a moment, it seemed like he was on the right track. Fans were hopeful he'd finally make a comeback. But just when people started rooting for him again, things took another bad turn. He went back to the same kind of behavior, posting crazy videos online, saying random things in interviews, and getting into trouble with the law. He was arrested multiple times for things like possession and domestic issues. It felt like every time he got a little better, something pulled him right back into chaos. 6. Stacey Dash.
Yeah, I never voted. The first time I voted was for Obama.
Really?
Yes.
Your first mistake?
Yes.
Stacey Dash used to be a big name in Hollywood, especially after her role in Clueless. She was stylish, cool, and a lot of people loved her. She had this strong screen presence, and it felt like she could have had a long, successful career in movies and TV. But somewhere along the way, things started to change, and not in a good way. At first, Stacey was open about her Christian faith and talked a lot about morals and values. She seemed grounded and focused. But then she made a big shift. She started speaking out about politics and became known for her very strong opinions, especially on conservative news channels like Fox News. That's when the backlash started. She made some comments that upset a lot of people, especially in the black community. She spoke against things like Black History Month and said stuff that made her seem like she was turning her back on her roots. People felt betrayed, like she had changed into someone totally different. Her fans didn't know what to make of her anymore. The more she talked, the more people pushed her away. She became super controversial and ended up getting fired from Fox News eventually. Even though she said she was standing up for what she believed in, the damage was already done. She became more known for her opinions than her acting, and casting directors didn't seem interested in hiring her anymore. If you thought Stacey's fall was dramatic, wait till you see who completely lost control after finding God. 7. Kanye West.
Everybody says, who does he think he is? I just told you who I thought I was. A God. I just told you. That's who I think I am.
Kanye West, who now goes by Ye, is mostly known for music and fashion, not acting. But his story fits here because of how his fall from faith really shook the world. At one point, it looked like Kanye was on a new path. He dropped the album Jesus is King, started doing Sunday services, and talked about giving his life to God. It felt like he was trying to become a better person, a better father, and maybe even a different kind of artist. People were surprised, but a lot of them supported him. His shows were more like church concerts, and he said he was done with swearing in his music. For a while, it looked like he had really changed. But then things started going off track again. Kanye began acting more and more unpredictable. He would post strange things on social media, talk for hours in interviews, and make claims that confused or upset people. The worst part came when he made anti-Semitic comments that shocked everyone. He lost major brand deals with companies like Adidas and got banned from platforms. Just like that, he went from being one of the most powerful people in music and fashion to someone people were backing away from fast. It wasn't just the comments, it was the way he went from preaching about Jesus to acting in ways that didn't match what he said he believed. People were confused. Some thought he was having mental health issues. Others felt betrayed, especially fans who looked up to him during his faith journey. 8. Chris Tucker.
And the best investment I ever did was trust in God and use my spirituality and thank God for my moms.
Chris Tucker used to be one of the funniest and most popular actors in Hollywood. After movies like Friday and especially Rush Hour, he became a huge star. But something unexpected happened. Chris Tucker found religion and became deeply spiritual. He gave his life to God and started taking his faith very seriously. That's not a bad thing at all, but it definitely changed the way he looked at his career. He started turning down movie roles that didn't match his Christian values. If a role had too much bad language, violence, or anything that didn't feel clean, he'd walk away from it. Because of that, he stopped doing a lot of the stuff that made him famous in the first place. He even said no to returning in some Friday sequels because he didn't want to play a smoking character anymore. While that made sense for his personal beliefs, it confused fans and slowed down his momentum in Hollywood. The problem was, Hollywood doesn't wait around. While Chris focused on his faith and stayed picky about roles, the industry moved on. New actors came up, comedy styles changed, and his name stopped coming up as much. By the time he was ready to do more movies, it felt like people had kind of forgotten about him. He did come back for some small stand-up shows and even appeared in a couple of films like Silver Linings Playbook, but he never reached the same level of fame he had in the early 2000s. 9. Cuba Gooding Jr.
The new video this evening involving actor Cuba Gooding Jr., who is fighting those allegations of groping a woman here in New York City.
Cuba Gooding Jr. was once seen as one of the good guys in Hollywood. After winning an Oscar for Jerry Maguire, people loved him. But after the Oscar win, Cuba kept acting, but his movie choices started to go downhill. He appeared in a lot of films that didn't do well, and people began to question where his career was heading. But the real damage came later, when his name started showing up in the news for all the wrong reasons. Cuba was accused by multiple women of sexual misconduct. Some said he groped them at bars or nightclubs. The number of women speaking out kept growing, and soon there were over 30 accusations. He denied some of them, but eventually he had to face the legal consequences. He pleaded guilty to one charge and avoided jail by agreeing to get counseling and stay out of trouble. Even though he wasn't locked up, his reputation took a huge hit. Besides the legal stuff, people also noticed that his behavior in public had become strange. There were videos of him acting wild at parties, yelling random things, and just being loud and out of control. It was a big shift from the calm, friendly guy people used to see on red carpets. Cuba used to have a clean image. He was someone fans respected. But fame can change people, and in his case, it seemed like he lost track of who he was. The industry doesn't take these kinds of accusations lightly, so big roles stopped coming his way. 10. Monique.
Listen, I'ma stab your ass with this fork. Do you hear me? I would love that.
Monique was once one of the most powerful and respected voices in Hollywood. She wasn't just funny, she was bold, real, and didn't hold back. She even won an Oscar for her role in Precious, proving she could handle serious, dramatic roles too. But after that big moment, things took a turn. Instead of her career blowing up after the Oscar win, Monique started getting fewer offers. A lot of people thought it didn't make sense. She was clearly talented. But then she started speaking out about how Hollywood really works. She said some of the biggest names in the business, like Oprah, Lee Daniels, and Tyler Perry, turned against her. She claimed they blackballed her because she refused to play the game. Monique said she was tired of being treated unfairly, especially as a black woman. She refused to go along with rules she felt were wrong. She wouldn't work for free, kiss up to big names, or pretend everything was okay when it wasn't. Instead, she called them out publicly, and Hollywood didn't like that. She believed she was being punished just for telling the truth and sticking to her values. She even talked about how her faith and inner strength helped her through it all. But no matter how strong she stayed, the offers kept disappearing. Big movies stopped calling. Major studios stopped working with her. Some people in the industry called her difficult, while others quietly supported her from the sidelines. For a long time, she was left out of the spotlight. She stayed vocal, though, using comedy shows, interviews, and social media to keep her voice heard. Years later, she started to make a slow comeback, but things were never the same as before. 11th, Tyrese Gibson.
I'm sitting there looking at these images. It's like we're hunting our evil twins. I mean, look at this black dude right here. He's handsome. Clearly that's me.
Tyrese Gibson started out as a singer, and not just any singer. He actually began in gospel music and had a deep spiritual image. But over the years, that image started to fall apart. One big problem was his personal life. Tyrese went through some really messy divorces, and those private issues quickly became public. He would post long, emotional videos and rants on social media, crying or talking to the camera in a way that made people feel uncomfortable. Instead of staying quiet and handling things behind the scenes, he shared everything online, and not always in a calm way. At one point, he had a huge public meltdown where he cried about not being able to see his daughter. The video went viral, and even though some people felt bad for him, others started thinking he was unstable. His posts became more and more dramatic, and fans didn't know if they were watching a cry for help or just a man losing control. Tyrese also got into fights with other celebrities. He called out his co-stars, complained about how he was being treated, and started feuds that made him look bitter and angry. He said Hollywood was turning its back on him, and he blamed a lot of people for his problems. But from the outside, it looked like he was self-destructing. What made it even more confusing is that Tyrese still talks about God and faith all the time. He says he's trying to be better and wants to do the right thing. But when his actions don't match his words, fans get confused and start backing away. His spiritual side feels lost behind all the drama. 12th, Tasha Smith.
With your ghetto baby mama.
Do you mind?
Excuse us.
And what the hell are you talking about, do you mind? Y'all ain't ever seen black people on a train?
Tasha Smith is best known for playing loud, funny, and real characters in Tyler Perry movies like Why Did I Get Married? But outside of acting, she was also a strong Christian and even a motivational speaker. For a while, it seemed like she had everything together. Her career was solid, and she was inspiring others with her story and faith. But things started to change when her personal life got messy, and it all became very public. Tasha went through a really bad divorce that made headlines. She accused her ex-husband of lying about who he was, saying he was a con man who fooled her into marrying him. It got so bad that she actually got the marriage annulled, which is basically like saying the marriage never legally happened. At the same time, he made some serious accusations against her too. The whole thing was filled with drama, and people on the outside didn't know what to believe. Even though she tried to stay strong, all the attention hurt her public image. The woman who used to give faith-based advice was now caught up in court battles and emotional chaos. She wasn't in the spotlight as much, and fans who once saw her as a positive voice started seeing her more for the drama than the inspiration. 13. Kel Mitchell.
What do I want?
Oh, I know, a rocket ship. Yeah, refrigerator magnet. A puppy.
I want what I want to eat.
Oh, you want to eat a puppy, you monster?
Kel Mitchell is best known for being the super funny guy from Kenan and Kel and Good Burger. He was part of so many childhood memories for people who grew up watching Nickelodeon. But after his time in the spotlight, Kel went through a major change. He found faith and became a pastor. For a while, people were impressed. He spoke about how fame had messed with his head and how God helped him turn his life around. He wrote a book about his journey, gave speeches, and shared Bible verses on social media. He wanted to inspire others and show that it's never too late to get your life on track. It seemed like Kel had left his wild past behind and was now focused on helping others. But then, drama started popping up. His ex-wife came forward and made some serious accusations. She said that Kel was not the perfect man he claimed to be. According to her, he had cheated, been emotionally abusive, and used religion to manipulate people. She called out what she saw as fake behavior, saying he acted one way in church and another behind closed doors. These claims really hurt Kel's clean image. People who had looked up to him as a role model started to question whether he was being real or just performing. Even though he denied the accusations and tried to stay focused on his ministry, the damage was already done. The media picked up the story and it spread fast. Suddenly, instead of talking about faith and healing, people were talking about scandals and hypocrisy. And just when you thought it couldn't get more shocking, this next star was once a fan favorite, until everything spiraled out of control. 14. Lisa Bonet.
Denise, it's your turn.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say.
Lisa Bonet became super famous for playing Denise Huxtable on The Cosby Show. She had a cool, unique vibe that made her stand out, but Lisa was never really about that fame life. Early on, she started doing things her own way, and it didn't always fit what Hollywood wanted. She leaned into mysticism and spiritual beliefs that weren't part of any traditional religion. She talked about energy, nature, and personal truth. Some people found it deep and interesting, but others thought it was too out there. She didn't follow the rules most stars did. She dressed how she wanted, said what she felt, and didn't care about fitting in. That made her different, but also made Hollywood unsure about working with her. Lisa also made some bold choices in her career. She did a movie called Angel Heart that was way more adult and edgy than her role on The Cosby Show. That caused a lot of drama, especially with Bill Cosby, who wasn't happy about it. After that, her role on the show became smaller and smaller, and eventually she was written off completely. It felt like Hollywood didn't know what to do with her anymore. Instead of chasing fame, Lisa started living more privately. She didn't act much and rarely gave interviews. She focused more on her personal life, raising her kids, and staying true to her own beliefs. She was never interested in being a typical celebrity, but because of that, her career slowed down a lot. The offers stopped coming, and she faded from the spotlight. 15. Jussie Smollett.
I did not do it to myself, and you must all know that. I respect you, Your Honor. I respect your decision. Jail time?
Jussie Smollett was once a rising star. He played Jamal Lyon on the hit show Empire, and people loved him for his talent, his voice, and his powerful acting. In 2019, Jussie said he was attacked in Chicago by two men who yelled racist and homophobic slurs, put a noose around his neck, and poured something on him. The news spread everywhere. People were angry and scared that something so awful could happen. Celebrities and fans showed massive support for him, and the story became a major headline. But then things started to fall apart. After police investigated, they claimed that Jussie had made the whole thing up. According to them, he hired 2 men he already knew to stage the attack. He was accused of faking the crime to gain sympathy and boost his career. It was like a plot twist nobody saw coming. Jussie denied it all, but he was arrested and charged for filing a false police report. The public reaction was brutal. People felt lied to and betrayed. Someone who had once stood for truth and justice was now being called a fraud. It didn't help that he kept claiming innocence while the evidence stacked up against him. He was later found guilty in court and sentenced to jail time, although he didn't serve the full sentence right away. The scandal basically destroyed his career. He was written off Empire, and most studios and producers didn't want anything to do with him. Once known for being a strong voice for the LGBTQ+ and black communities, Jussie became a punchline on talk shows and social media. 16. Whoopi Goldberg.
I'm proud of you, Oda Mae.
You know something, Sam? I don't care if you're proud of me. You stay away from me from now on. What is that nut gonna do with it? She can't even buy underwear, nothing. I hate you. Leave me alone. Never talk to me again.
Whoopi Goldberg is a Hollywood legend. She's won big awards, starred in famous movies like Sister Act and The Color Purple, and has been loved for her humor and honesty. She wasn't super religious, but she believed in a higher power and often shared thoughtful views on life and faith. People respected her for being wise and real, but in the last few years, her public image has taken a hit. Most of the drama has happened on The View, the daytime talk show where she's been a host for a long time. On the show, Whoopi talks about everything, from politics to religion to social issues. But sometimes the things she says have upset a lot of people. She's made a few comments that sparked major backlash. In one case, she talked about the Holocaust in a way that many felt was disrespectful and completely wrong. Even though she apologized, she was suspended from the show for 2 weeks. After that, people started looking at her differently. Some said she was losing touch, while others felt like she was becoming too controversial. She's also made other statements that confused or upset both fans and critics, and the reactions have been very mixed. While she still has a loyal audience, many people think she's not the same thoughtful, balanced person she used to be. Over time, it seems like her values have shifted. She doesn't talk about spirituality as much anymore, and when she does speak on serious topics, it often comes off as more aggressive or dismissive. 17. Isaiah Washington.
No, I did not call Tiara a faggot. It never happened. Never happened.
Isaiah Washington was a big part of Grey's Anatomy when it first became a hit. He played Dr. Preston Burke, and fans loved his serious, strong character. But things took a huge turn, and everything changed after a serious controversy. During the early seasons of Grey's Anatomy, it came out that Isaiah had made a homophobic comment about one of his co-stars. The news spread fast, and people were shocked. He apologized at first, but then later denied saying it during an award show press event, which made things even worse. The cast and crew were upset, and the public didn't take it lightly. Eventually, the producers decided to let him go from the show. That was a huge deal, because Grey's Anatomy was one of the biggest shows on TV, and losing a major role like that hurt his career badly. After he left, Isaiah didn't just quietly move on, he started speaking out against Hollywood. He said that he was being pushed out because he didn't fit in with what he called Hollywood's liberal machine. He claimed that his beliefs and values, especially as a Christian and a black man, were the real reasons he was being blackballed. But most people saw it as him not taking responsibility for his past actions. Since then, Isaiah has taken smaller roles in movies and TV, but he never got back to the level of fame he had during Grey's Anatomy. He became more known for his opinions and online rants than for his acting. 18. Gary Dourdan.
I've learned to respect just how fierce the bull is. In a bullfight, the matador doesn't face up to the bull. He cuts him, he clips him, he wears him down until the bull has no more will to fight.
Gary Dourdan became super famous for playing Warwick Brown on CSI Crime Scene Investigation. He had a cool, calm vibe on screen and was one of the most loved characters on the show. For a while, it seemed like he had everything going for him: fame, talent, and a strong image. But things started falling apart fast, and it shocked a lot of people. After his time on CSI, Gary's life took a turn in the wrong direction. He got arrested multiple times for drug possession. It was clear he was struggling with addiction, and each arrest brought more attention to his personal issues than his acting. Fans who used to admire him for his talent started seeing a totally different side. On top of the drug problems, Gary also had legal trouble in his personal relationships. There were reports of domestic violence, which added even more negativity to his image. These kinds of headlines made it hard for casting directors and studios to trust him. Hollywood moved on, and he was no longer getting the same roles or respect he once had. Then came the money problems. Gary filed for bankruptcy, showing that his financial life was just as unstable as everything else. It was sad to see, especially for someone who once seemed so grounded and full of wisdom. He had gone from red carpets and hit shows to courtrooms and mugshots. The fall was hard to watch. So, which story shocked you the most? Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, or you might miss the next fall from fame.